Guys, so for the first video in this series, we're going to start with complexion. So these are the steps to get a flawless face without it looking overdone-ish. And yeah, so I've already done my skin prep, and I've been letting this soak in for about 15 minutes now, so we can start with primer. Today I'm going to be using the Hangover RX from Too Faced. This is a coconut water based primer. It's very hydrating, very nourishing, very neutral, and I'm just going to apply this all over the face, press it in, and we're good to go. So next I'm going to apply my complexion coverage item, and I don't really like foundation, as you guys know on my channel, and also if you see my skin, it's pretty much very clear aside from the few acne scars I have and this one stupid breakout that I'm having right now, which I think is from my hat, because like sweat, you know. But yeah, so for complexion, we're going to be using the Lancome Skin Feels Good, and this is one of my favorite products as of late. It's a very light skin tint. It's not a full-on foundation. It doesn't really give a ton of coverage, so if you don't already have very clear skin, it may not provide enough coverage for you, but I really like it for myself and clients who pretty much essentially already have perfect skin. And I am in the shade Almond 35W, so I'm going to pump one squirt of that out on the back of my hand, and then it's a little bit light for me now that I've gotten a little bit more color, so I'm going to mix one pump of the D-Bronzi from Drunk Elephant. That was so much. Okay, I need to redo that. One pump of the Lancome, and like a tiny little squirt of the D-Bronzi, like boop, very little, just like that. I'm going to work that into the back of my hand, mix the two together, and I'm just going to apply this with my hands, no need for a brush. And you can see this just gives the skin like a beautiful, flawless, dewy finish without looking overdone. For products like this and similar, like BB creams, tinted moisturizers, I find they're just best applied with your hands. I don't really think you need to bust out a brush or a beauty blender with these. They warm up really nicely with your hand, and because of the texture is more similar to a moisturizer, that's just really the best way to apply it. So that's nicely worked into the skin. Perfect. Next we're going to set the face. This is a very important step if you use cream, if you use powder like bronzer, contour, and all that stuff. If you do cream, bronzer, and contour, then continue with your normal routine and then just set after. I, however, do not do cream contour or any type of cream blush. I don't really like it. I prefer powders. So that being said, we need to use a little bit of Mercier translucent. This is just going to make sure that the Lancome is dry before we go in with any of those powders. If there's any moisture, it'll just stick, and then you'll have a really splotchy bronzer. So I'm just taking a large powder brush, and I'm just lightly dusting this all over the face. Once you feel that the brush is just gliding easily and it's not dragging, then you know your face is ready for other powders. I don't like baking. I just don't think it's necessary. It's too much product. So this is a really easy way to set the face without feeling like you're wearing a ton of product. Next, we're going to bronze up the face. Use your favorite bronzer of choice. I currently don't have a favorite bronzer, and my Hourglass is almost at pan, so I save that for special occasions. But you guys know I love the Makeup Artist Network 6-Pan Foundation Palette. I mix the 4 darkest shades, these ones down here, for my foundation, or for my bronzing color, and it's just the perfect shade for me. So I'm literally just hitting each pan, large fluffy brush, tap off the excess. So with bronzing, a lot of people don't realize bronzer is not supposed to go all over your face. It's meant to be just around the perimeter. So focus really on the hairline. I like angling the brush towards the hairline so I can really work that product in. Our scalp doesn't really tan, so you don't want to have pale skin, then dark skin. So you really work that product into the hairline, along the temples. And my kind of rule of thumb is you don't really need to bring your bronzer too much farther past the middle of your brow. Then it can start making your forehead look too small and then too bronzed. But if you have a super wide forehead, which I kind of do, I bring my bronzer in a little bit farther, like here, and down to about here, so my forehead looks a little bit smaller. But if you have a very narrow face, don't bring your bronzer in too far, keep it a little bit more on the sides, or vice versa. If you already have a very short forehead, probably don't really do this too much because then it'll minimize it even more. So I'm just buffing this in, making sure to hit the cheekbones, always get the ear, especially if you have short hair, down the jaw, and the neck. I'm going to go back in for a little bit more product. And you can start seeing that this bronzer is kind of framing the face. It's almost contouring in a way. And yeah, so I'm just going to keep building this color up. A little bit on the cheekbone. I like to go over this area because as a male, I don't like this area to be too bright. I know with women we like to conceal and highlight this entire area, but I kind of feel like this should be a little bit more bronze on me. It looks kind of weird if it's too bright. And then I like to take whatever's left and just run it over my eyes, and this will add a little bit of warmth into the crease. Perfect. Next we can go ahead and contour. So I'm taking the Kevyn Sculpting Duo. My little highlight shade fell out, so but I never use it anyway. And this is just a little angled brush from Ofra. And contour should be a faded line, so don't ever buff your contour back and forth. Every time I'm going, my brush is coming off my face and coming back on. So this line should be darkest here and fade out. And your cheekbone should be right here. You can feel it right along this side. And then with whatever's left of my brush, I'm just going to blend upwards and lift that cheekbone up. Perfect. I also like to hit the jawline. Not too heavily. My jawline is pretty defined already, so I don't like to go too overboard with that. And then we'll hit the other cheekbone. Again, start the color here, and then just feather it down underneath the cheekbone. With whatever's left on the brush, we'll lift up. And then carve out the jaw. Cool. Now we're going to highlight the face, and I'm going to be using the Sephora Collection Illuminator palette. It's a 6-pan palette. I absolutely love this guy. I use it quite a bit at work. And I am the light kind of champagne shade with a pop of that one. And I'm using just a little angled, a little fluffy shadow brush for this. I like my highlight to be a little more precise. I don't like it getting everywhere. I need a mirror though. Hold on. And I'm just going to hit this right along the cheekbone and stop right about there. And then I'm turning on the side of the brush where I don't have much product and blending that out. Your highlight, when you're looking straight at someone, should not be seen. So kind of rule of thumb, stop your highlight at the arch of your brow right here. You should only see it when someone turns. If you can see it, they brought it in way too far or they're using the wrong color. The undertone of a highlight should also be close to your skin tone so that you can't see it when it's not in light, if that makes sense. I'm then going to take a little bit right on the Cupid's bow. Perfect. And then I'm going to take a little bit, this is optional if you already have an ideal nose shape, or if you like your nose, you don't need to do this. I correct my nose heavily, so I'm highlighting the tip of it, the highest point of my nostril on both sides. And I'm just using the other side of this brush. It has a little flat smudging brush, but I find that perfect for doing this type of highlighting. And then right down the bridge of the nose. And then soften that out. So guys, you can stop at this step here if you just want to do complexion makeup or just do some light eyeshadow and mascara. But this concludes the very first part of this series where we learn about just perfecting the face, getting our shadows nice and blended and where they should be and why. And then I really feel like this is an easy routine that anyone can do. I will be contouring my nose later on in the series, but that is an optional step. I don't consider that necessarily part of complexion. Not everyone needs it, not everyone should do it, and it's just an extra step. So that'll be coming on later when I talk about eyes and brows, because that is when I do that step. So stay tuned for the next video, which will be on eyes and brows. Okay, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Until then, bye.